Okay, so are you ready to dive into a book that might leave you looking over your shoulder?
Always up for a little mystery. What are we reading?
This one is called Power Volume 2
Okay.
by Edward Tropea.
I've heard of this one. It's about unseen forces, right?
Yay! Yeah, and it really gets you thinking about the influences in our lives that we might not even be aware of.
Yeah. What I find interesting about Tropea is that he doesn't pretend to have it all figured out.
Right.
He's just sharing his own experiences and interpretations, sort of
Yeah.
inviting us to grapple with these big questions alongside him.
And he doesn't shy away from the unsettling stuff. Like,
Oh.
right off the bat, he talks about these vivid, almost cinematic encounters he had as a child
Encounters with
with a demonic figure.
a demonic figure. Okay, now you got my attention.
He even says it left a scar on his nose. It's like something out of a horror movie.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. About the power of belief, the nature of reality.
And those primal fears that seem to be hardwired into us.
Exactly. And, it makes you think about all those stories and myths and legends about demons and evil spirits.
Right. They're present in almost every culture throughout history.
And whether you take them literally or see them as symbolic representations of something else.
They definitely tap into a part of our psyche that's both terrified and fascinated by the unknown.
For sure, and that's just the beginning of the book. He also introduces this concept of qingqi.
Qingqi, what's that?
He describes it as a potent energy derived from sexual activity.
Okay, I see where this is going.
But before you jump to any conclusions, it's not about suppressing desire or anything like that.
Okay, good.
It's more about the potential for this energy to be misused or even unknowingly fuel negative forces.
That's an interesting concept. So it's like this powerful energy that exists within us, and if we're not careful, it can be harnessed or manipulated in ways that might not be beneficial.
Exactly. And think about how much of our modern world seems designed to keep us in a constant state of craving.
Oh, absolutely. Targeted ads, social media, the 24/7 news cycle. It's like we're constantly being bombarded with messages designed to trigger our desires, our fears, our insecurities.
Right. It's like they're tapping into this qingqi without us even realizing it.
And profiting from it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much of our consumerist culture is driven by our own genuine choices versus these subtle, almost invisible influences that are pulling our strings.
Okay, now you're really starting to freak me out a little bit here.
Sorry, but it's true.
And he doesn't stop there. He goes on to talk about possession.
Possession, like demonic possession.
Well, not necessarily in the Hollywood horror movie sense.
Okay.
But more in a way that makes you question how much control we really have over our own thoughts and actions.
Okay.
He uses this example of, like, driving a car.
Okay.
You know how you can kind of zone out and go into autopilot mode?
Yeah.
And you get to your destination and you barely remember the drive?
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Well, Tropea suggests that maybe those moments when we're on autopilot aren't just us zoning out, but something else at play beneath the surface of our awareness.
So something else is driving the car.
Maybe, or at least influencing our actions in ways that we don't fully grasp.
Okay, so if it's not just us, who or what else could be at the wheel?
That is the question, isn't it?
And does he offer any answers?
Well, he gets into this idea that there are these unseen entities that can influence our desires.
Like cravings for food.
Yeah.
Romantic infatuation.
Yes.
Addictive behaviors.
All of it.
So we're talking about something that's external to us, something that's influencing our thoughts and behaviors from the outside.
It's a possibility he's definitely putting out there.
And how do we know if it's our own desires or something else whispering in our ear?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because Tropea talks about how these unseen entities can be incredibly seductive and manipulative.
It's like that saying, the devil doesn't always wear horns. Sometimes he wears a suit and a smile.
Exactly. And they know how to push our buttons. They know what we're drawn to, what our weaknesses are, and they use that to their advantage.
Okay, now I'm starting to get a little creeped out. But it makes sense, right? Like those targeted ads we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They're designed to appeal to our deepest desires, our insecurities, even our fears.
And we're often completely unaware of how those messages are shaping our thoughts and behaviors.
Right. It's like we're caught in this web of influence.
Both from within and without. And speaking of influence, Tropea doesn't hold back on his critique of Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have expected that connection. So what's his take on it?
Well, just to be clear, he's not advocating for or against any particular belief system.
Okay, good to take.
He's more interested in dissecting this idea that indulging every whim is the path to liberation.
Right, because true freedom isn't just about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. There's a certain level of self-awareness and responsibility that comes with it.
Exactly. And Tropea really challenges us to consider whether true freedom lies in giving in to our every desire,
Or in cultivating self-control.
making conscious choices that are in alignment with our higher selves.
It's about understanding the consequences of our actions and taking responsibility for the energy we put out into the world.
And this is where his background in St. Matt comes into play.
Say, Matt, I'm not familiar with that. What is that exactly?
It's a spiritual path that emphasizes connecting with the divine. And Tropea believes that many traditional spiritual practices are being undermined by the interference of these unseen forces.
So it's like there's this cosmic battle happening for our souls, and these unseen forces are trying to throw us off track, distract us from our true purpose.
In a way, yes, but it's not about living in fear. It's about understanding the subtle influences at play and developing the discernment to navigate our spiritual journeys with awareness and intention.
So how do we develop that discernment? How do we know if we're being influenced by something that's not in our best interest?
That's a great question. And Tropea actually dives into a specific example of a channeling message that he believes exemplifies how easily we can be misled by spiritual teachings that sound good on the surface.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about this channeling message. What was it about? And why did Tropea find it so concerning?
Well, he breaks down the language used, particularly this emphasis on the soul light.
Soul light.
Yeah, and how it can be used to manipulate people into surrendering their power.
Wow, it's scary how easily we can be swayed by things that sound spiritual or enlightened, especially when they tap into our desire for something more, something greater than ourselves.
Exactly. And that's why critical thinking is so important. We can't just blindly accept everything we hear or read, especially when it comes to matters of the spirit.
Right. We have to be willing to question, to analyze, to trust our own intuition, and maybe most importantly, be wary of any teachings that encourage blind faith or surrendering our personal power.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from demonic encounters to qingxi to possession to manipulation. What does all this mean for the average person?
I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of awareness. Tropea wants us to wake up to the possibility that there's more going on than meets the eye, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So it's not about becoming paranoid or obsessed with these unseen forces.
No, not at all. It's about paying attention. Noticing the subtle ways in which our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors might be influenced by forces we don't fully understand.
And then what? What do we do with that awareness?
Well, that's where the real work begins. But just becoming aware of these influences is a huge first step.
And so it's about taking back our power.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to these influences. We don't have to be victims of circumstance. We can choose to align ourselves with something greater. We can choose to live from a place of awareness, intention, and empowerment.
So when we talk about aligning ourselves with something greater, what does that actually look like?
Well, it's not just about recognizing these unseen forces. It's about understanding how they operate, right?
Okay, so give me an example. How do we do that?
Think of it this way. If you're constantly surrounding yourself with negativity, doom scrolling on social media, watching fear-mongering news, it's like you're tuning your energetic frequency to a lower vibration.
Okay, I'm following.
And according to Tropea, that lower vibration actually makes you more susceptible to the influence of those negative forces.
So it's not just about avoiding evil spirits hiding in the shadows. It's about the energy we're putting out into the world.
Exactly. It's like building up a spiritual immune system.
A spiritual immune system. I like that. So how do we strengthen ours?
Well, Tropea talks about the importance of cultivating a positive and spiritually aligned lifestyle.
Okay, that makes sense. But what does that look like in a practical sense?
Well, it involves things like meditation, prayer, positive affirmations, even being mindful of the food we eat.
So it's about raising our vibration.
Exactly. By aligning ourselves with a higher frequency, we become less susceptible to those lower vibrational influences.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about being aware of these unseen forces. It's about actively doing things to make ourselves less vulnerable to their influence.
Precisely. And Tropea doesn't just stop at lifestyle changes. He also introduces some specific techniques we can use.
Like what?
Well, he talks about things like reciting mantras.
Mantras.
Yes, and visualizing protective light.
I can see how those practices could be powerful for creating a sense of inner peace and protection. But I imagine some people might find that a little woo-woo.
Oh, absolutely. But if you can move past the labels and think of these practices as tools for focusing your intention and cultivating a sense of inner strength, they become quite practical.
It's like we have this whole spiritual toolkit at our disposal.
Exactly. And the more we use these tools, the stronger our spiritual immune system becomes, and the better equipped we are to navigate the unseen world.
So it's not about suppressing our desires or becoming passive in the face of these forces. It's about taking control of our energy and directing it in a way that aligns with our highest good.
You got it. It's about recognizing when we're being influenced by something outside of ourselves.
And then making a conscious choice to align ourselves with something greater.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming our autonomy.
Which brings up the question of free will.
Right, because if we're constantly being influenced by these unseen forces, how much agency do we actually have?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And Tropia believes that we have more free will than we realize.
Okay, so free will does exist.
He seems to think so. But it's often clouded by our conditioning.
Our conditioning.
Yeah, all the beliefs and fears and patterns of behavior that we've picked up over a lifetime.
So it's not that we don't have free will. It's more like our free will is being suppressed or obscured by all this other stuff.
Exactly. It's like we're driving a car with a dirty windshield. We might think we're in control, but our perception is skewed.
Okay, I like that analogy. So how do we clean the windshield? So how do we clean the windshield, so to speak? How do we start to see those influences more clearly and make traces from a place of greater awareness?
Well, for Tropia, it starts with self-reflection.
Okay.
Meditation, connecting with our intuition.
So we're training our minds to be more discerning, like developing a stronger sense of what feels genuine good for us versus what's pulling us off track.
Exactly. And it's not about living in fear of these unseen forces.
Right.
It's about understanding their influence and developing the skills to navigate them consciously.
So it's less about being a victim of circumstance and more about becoming a conscious architect of our own lives, even with these unseen forces at play.
You got it. It's a shift in perspective. Imagine, instead of feeling powerless, you're able to observe these influences, understand their tactics, and choose how you respond.
That's a pretty radical idea when you think about it.
It is.
To realize we might have more agency than we've been taught to believe.
And that's the beauty of Tropia's work,
Wow.
He's not just presenting a theory or a set of beliefs.
Right.
He's offering a new way of seeing the world and our place within it. He's inviting us to question our assumptions, explore the hidden dimensions of our own being, and ultimately step into a greater sense of empowerment.
It's definitely a lot to digest, but as unsettling as some of these ideas have been, I'm also feeling a sense of hope. Like there's a path forward, even amidst all this talk of unseen forces and manipulation.
That's the thing about knowledge, right? It can
Yeah.
be daunting at first, but it also empowers us to make more informed choices.
That's a good point.
And when it comes to the unseen world, awareness is truly the first step towards liberation.
Well said. So for those listening who are feeling called to explore these ideas further, what's the best way to dive deeper into Tropia's work?
I'd say the best place to start is with Power Volume 2 itself.
Of course. Makes sense.
He goes into much greater detail about all of these concepts, and he provides practical exercises and techniques you can start applying to your own life.
Yeah, this has been a great introduction, a little taste of what's possible.
A starting point for your own exploration.
Exactly. And we always encourage our listeners to keep an open mind,
Absolutely.
to trust your intuition, and to embrace the mystery and wonder of your own unique spiritual journey.
Because when we open ourselves to the possibility that there's more to life than meets the eye, we open ourselves to a world of infinite possibilities.
I love that.
I do too.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of unseen forces and the power of awareness.
This is a good one.
We encourage you to continue exploring these ideas and to see where they lead you.
Absolutely.
Until next time, take care.